The letter sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 3 days, its crisp white envelope taunting me with possibilities. The return address belonged to Robert Young and Associates, one of the most prestigious investment firms in the city. I knew opening it would change everything. I just didn't know how much. My name is Sonia, and I've spent my entire life being invisible. Well, not literally invisible, but when you grow up in the shadow of a sister like Kennedy, it sometimes feels that way. Sonia, where are those headshots I asked you to pick up? Mom's voice carried up the stairs, sharp and demanding. I could already picture her expression, that familiar mix of disappointment and irritation she reserved specially for me. Coming! I called back, quickly tucking the envelope into my desk drawer. I grabbed Kennedy's stack of glossy photos and headed downstairs, where Mom was frantically organizing Kennedy's portfolio. These were supposed to be ready an hour ago, Mom snapped, snatching them from my hands. Kennedy has an audition at 3, and we need everything perfect. I was at work, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. You know, that thing I do to help pay for all this? Mom barely glanced up. Don't start, Sonia. This could be Kennedy's big break. The casting director from Midnight in Manhattan specifically requested to see her. Right on cue, Kennedy breezed into the room, her perfectly styled hair bouncing as she moved. Mom, have you seen my lucky bracelet? The one Grandma gave me? Check the jewelry box in my room, sweetie. I put it there for safekeeping. I felt my stomach clench. That jewelry box used to hold my things too, before Mom started selling them piece by piece to fund Kennedy's acting classes and headshots. My high school graduation ring, the silver locket from Dad before he died, all gone without so much as a conversation. Found it! Kennedy emerged triumphant, the delicate gold bracelet dangling from her wrist. Sonia, can you help me run lines? I want to nail this audition. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. It was Travis, my one true friend in this mess of a life. Sorry, I have to take this, I said, already heading for the door. Mom's disapproving sigh followed me out. Save me, I whispered into the phone as soon as I was outside. Travis chuckled. That bad today? Want to grab coffee? God, yes. Meet you at Joe's in 15? At the coffee shop, Travis listened as I vented about the morning's events. His presence was always calming, like a port in a storm. You can't keep living like this, he said finally, pushing my favorite chocolate muffin toward me. You're smarter than both of them combined, Sonia. You have dreams, too. Dreams don't pay bills, I replied, but my hand instinctively went to my pocket, where I'd slipped the mysterious letter before leaving the house. What's that? Travis noticed the movement. Taking a deep breath, I pulled out the envelope. Remember that investment proposal I sent out last month? The one about sustainable urban development? Travis's eyes widened. No way! Is that from Robert Young himself? My fingers trembled as I finally broke the seal. As I read the letter, my heart started racing. They want to meet with me. They're interested in my proposal. Sonia, this is huge! Travis reached across the table to squeeze my hand. This could be your ticket out. My phone buzzed again. Mom, demanding I come home to help Kennedy prepare for the audition. For the first time in years, I hit ignore. You know what the funny thing is? I said, carefully folding the letter. Mom always said I was wasting my time with business classes and investment research, said I should focus on helping Kennedy instead. And now? I smiled, feeling something shift inside me. And now I have a meeting with one of the biggest investment firms in the city, while Kennedy's still chasing her big break. What are you going to tell them? Nothing, I replied, surprising myself with how calm I felt. They don't need to know, not yet. Let them keep thinking I'm just the reliable sister, the one who picks up headshots and runs lines and sells her jewelry to fund someone else's dreams. Travis raised an eyebrow. Sounds like revenge. No, I said, though we both knew better. It sounds like karma, and karma's about to get very interesting. As I walked home, clutching the letter in my pocket, I thought about all the times Mom had dismissed my achievements, all the times Kennedy had taken my support for granted. They had no idea what was coming. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should watch out for. and I had been quiet for far too long. The early morning quiet of the coffee shop was my sanctuary. While Mom and Kennedy slept off another late-night audition, I sat with my laptop open, checking my investment portfolio. 3 months of working double shifts at the diner had finally started paying off. Another coffee? Maria, the morning waitress, stopped by my table. Please, and thanks for letting me camp out here every morning. She winked. Honey, you're the only customer who tips more than the bill. Stay as long as you want. My phone lit up with a text from Travis. How's Operation Freedom going? I was about to reply when Kennedy's face flashed across my screen. An incoming call. Sighing, I answered. Where are you? She demanded. Mom's freaking out. We need money for new headshots. I'm at work, I lied smoothly. What happened to the ones from last week? The photographer made me look too commercial. Mom says we need something more dramatic for this new role. It's only $800. I nearly choked on my coffee. 800? Kennedy, I don't... Please, Sonia. This could be my breakthrough. Mom says she can sell some more stuff to cover half. My stomach dropped. What stuff? Oh, just some old jewelry nobody wears anymore. That ring Grandma left. No. My voice came out sharper than intended. Not Grandma's ring, that's mine. Don't be selfish, Sonia, you never even wear it. Because Mom keeps it locked in her jewelry box. I took a deep breath, lowering my voice as other customers glanced my way. That ring was specifically left to me in Grandma's will. Whatever. Mom says since you live at home rent-free, the least you can do is contribute to the family's future. The call ended before I could respond. My hands shook as I pulled up my banking app. The numbers stared back at me, the result of months of careful saving and strategic investments guided by late-night research and Robert's occasional advice. My phone buzzed again. Travis. Save your breath, I answered. I already know I'm an idiot for letting them walk all over me. Actually, he said, I was calling to tell you that stock we discussed just split. You might want to check your portfolio. I refreshed the page. The number made me grip the table. Holy shit, I whispered. Told you trusting your instincts would pay off. Speaking of paying off, how's the secret apartment hunt going? I glanced at my other open tab, a rental listing I'd been eyeing. Found a place. Small but perfect. I'm meeting the landlord tomorrow. Does the dynamic duo know? Are you kidding? They still think I'm working at the diner for minimum wage. Meanwhile, I looked at my portfolio again, still barely believing the numbers. Meanwhile, you're quietly building an empire, Travis finished. But what about the ring? I closed my laptop. I'm heading home now. Time to see exactly what Mom's planning. The house was quiet when I arrived, but I could hear voices from Mom's room. I crept closer to the partially open door. The vintage store offered $1,200, Mom was saying. That should cover the headshots and your new acting coach. What about Sonia? Kennedy's voice. She seemed pretty upset about the ring. Sonia needs to understand that sacrifices have to be made for success. Besides, she's always been practical. She doesn't appreciate beautiful things like you do, sweetie. I backed away silently, my mind racing. The vintage store. I knew which one. Mom had been selling my things there for years. Back in my room, I pulled up my investment app again and initiated a transfer. Then I called Robert. Sonia? I wasn't expecting to hear from you until our meeting next week. I need advice on liquidating some assets. Quickly, he paused. Everything okay? It will be. I just need to beat someone to a purchase. Ah, he said, understanding in his voice. Sometimes the best investments are the ones that protect what's already yours. An hour later, I walked into Vintage Treasures, my phone showing a fresh transfer confirmation. Can I help you? The owner smiled. Yes, I said, pulling up a photo on my phone. I believe my mother called about selling you a ring. Art Deco, sapphire center stone? Oh yes, lovely piece. She's bringing it in tomorrow. I placed my phone on the counter, showing my banking app. I'd like to make you a better offer, right now. Later that night, I sat in my room, turning Grandma's ring over in my hands. The sapphire caught the light, reminding me of her eyes, and how she'd always seen me, even when no one else did. "Time to make you proud, Grandma," I whispered, slipping the ring onto my finger. "And maybe teach a few people about consequences along the way." The explosion came exactly as expected. I was sitting at the kitchen table, deliberately sipping my coffee, when Mom burst in, her face flushed with rage. "Where is it?" she demanded, slamming her purse down. "The vintage store owner said someone already bought the ring. It was you, wasn't it?" I took another sip. Grandma's ring cool against my finger under the table. "You mean the ring that was legally left to me? Don't get smart with me, Sonia. Where did you even get the money?" "Ah, I work, remember? Or did you forget that between Kennedy's auditions and acting coaches?" Kennedy appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas. "What's going on?" "Your sister is being selfish," Mom spat. "That ring could have funded your new headshots and coaching sessions. This could have been your big break." I stood up slowly. "Everything is Kennedy's big break. My graduation money was her big break. Dad's life insurance was her big break. When does it end?" "You don't understand the industry," Mom said, her voice dripping with condescension. "It takes investment to—" "To what? To watch Kennedy bomb another audition? To keep chasing a dream that's eating up everything this family has?" Kennedy's face crumpled. "That's not fair, Sonia." "Fair?" I laughed, and the sound surprised even me. "Let's talk about fair. Let's talk about how every single thing I've ever owned has been sold to fund your career. Let's talk about how I haven't bought new clothes in 2 years because my paychecks keep disappearing into your acting classes." "We're a family," Mom interrupted. "We support each other." "No, Mom, you support Kennedy. I just pay for it." The silence that followed was deafening. I pulled the ring from under the table and held it up. This was the last thing I had from Grandma. The last thing that was actually mine. And you were going to sell it without even asking me. "Because I knew you'd react like this." Mom threw her hands up. "You've always been jealous of Kennedy's talent." "Talent?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "Let me show you something." I pulled out my phone and opened my investment portfolio. "See this? This is what I've been doing while you two were chasing fame. I've been working double shifts, saving everything I could, learning about investments. I turned $3,000 into $30,000 in 6 months." Mom's eyes widened. Kennedy leaned forward, suddenly interested. That's impossible," Mom stammered. "Robert Young doesn't think so. You know, the investment firm you said was wasting my time? They're backing my urban development proposal." "Why didn't you tell us?" Kennedy asked quietly. "When should I have done that? Between your crying sessions over failed auditions or Mom's lectures about family sacrifice?" Mom reached for the phone. "If you have this kind of money, you should be helping your sister's career." I pulled back. "No, I'm done funding this fantasy. I'm done being the family ATM. And most importantly," I held up my hand, letting Grandma's ring catch the light, "I'm done letting you sell pieces of me." "Then maybe you should leave," Mom said, her voice cold. "Mom!" Kennedy gasped. "Maybe I should." I picked up my coffee cup and walked to the sink. "By the way, I already signed a lease. I move out next week." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of running water as I washed my cup. When I turned around, Kennedy was crying, and Mom looked like she'd seen a ghost. "You can't be serious," Mom whispered. "Watch me." I headed for the stairs, then paused. "Oh, and Kennedy? Your agent Yvonne called me yesterday. Apparently, she's been trying to reach you about some concerns with your new role. Maybe you should check your messages." I spent the rest of the morning in my room, listening to the muffled sounds of argument downstairs. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. "Done it?" "Finally told them," I replied. "World didn't end. Yet." "Proud of you. Meeting still on for tomorrow?" I looked at my calendar, where my appointment with Robert was highlighted. "Absolutely. Time to turn 30,000 into something bigger." Another text came through, this time from Kennedy. "Can we talk? Alone?" I stared at the message for a long moment before replying, "Not today. I need some space." Looking around my room, at the empty spaces where my possessions used to be, I felt lighter somehow. Grandma's ring caught the sunlight, and I remembered something she told me once. Sometimes the biggest act of love is walking away. I touched the ring gently. "You were right, Grandma, as always." The sound of Mom's angry voice carried up the stairs, probably on the phone with the vintage store owner again. But for the first time in years, it didn't make me flinch. Some things were worth more than peace, like finally standing up for yourself. "This is it!" Mom's voice echoed through the house. "Kennedy's big break is finally here." I looked up from my packing boxes just in time to see her burst into my room, waving a script like a victory flag. 3 days had passed since our confrontation, and she'd shifted seamlessly from fury to pretending nothing had happened. "They're offering her the lead in Midnight in Manhattan," she continued, either ignoring or not noticing the half-packed state of my room. "Can you believe it?" "That's unexpected," I said carefully, remembering my conversation with Yvonne last week. "We need to celebrate. I'm thinking of hosting a party this weekend. You'll help, won't you?" Before I could respond, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Yvonne Richards. "Sorry, I need to take this," I said, stepping into the hallway. Mom followed, hovering nearby. "Sonia, has Kennedy returned any of my calls?" Yvonne sounded stressed. "No, but Mom's just told me about the role. Congratulations." There was a pause. "That's actually what I've been trying to discuss with her. The role. It's not what they initially promised." "What do you mean?" "They've rewritten the script. Kennedy's lead role is now a supporting character with 3 scenes. They're bringing in a bigger name for the lead." I closed my eyes. "And the pay?" "Significantly reduced. Look, I've been trying to reach her before she signs anything, but she's not responding. Could you—" "I'll tell her," I said, ending the call. When I turned around, Mom was staring at me. "What was that about?" "Maybe you should ask Kennedy about her missed calls from Yvonne." Right on cue, Kennedy bounded up the stairs, her face glowing. "Mom, the contract just arrived by email." "Don't sign it," I said quickly. Kennedy's smile faltered. "What?" "Call Yvonne first. The role's changed. It's not the lead anymore." "That's ridiculous," Mom interjected. "Stop trying to ruin this for your sister." I'm not." I started, but Kennedy was already running to her room. Mom followed, shooting me a venomous look. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. "Coffee? You look like you need it." 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from him at our usual spot, recounting the morning's events. "So they still haven't read the new contract?" Travis asked, stirring his latte. Knowing Mom, she's probably forcing Kennedy to sign it right now, without even reading the fine print. "And you're just going to let it happen?" I twisted Grandma's ring on my finger. "You know what? Yes. Yes, I am." "That doesn't sound like you." "Maybe it should. I've spent years trying to protect Kennedy from consequences. Look where that got us." Travis leaned back. "Fair point. Speaking of consequences, how did your meeting with Robert go?" For the first time that day, I smiled. "He's not just backing my proposal. He wants me to lead the entire project, said my insight into sustainable urban development could revolutionize how we approach city planning." "That's amazing. When do you start?" "Next month, after I'm settled in my new place." I pulled out my keys, showing him the new apartment key. "I got the final approval this morning." My phone lit up with multiple messages, all from Kennedy. "You were right. The role changed. Mom's furious." "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Please come home. Mom's saying it's your fault for jinxing it." I showed the messages to Travis. "Are you going back?" he asked. "No, I'm done being their emotional support system." I typed a quick response. "I tried to warn you. Call Yvonne. She's still your agent." "Harsh," Travis commented. "Necessary," I corrected. Sometimes people need to fall before they can learn to stand on their own. My phone rang again, Mom this time. I declined the call. "You know what's ironic?" I said, watching another message pop up. "All those acting classes, and Kennedy never learned to read between the lines. All those auditions, And Mom never learned to spot a bad deal. And what did you learn? I thought about my meeting with Robert, about the confidence in his voice when he said I had what it took to succeed. I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting ahead. Travis raised his coffee cup. To getting ahead. And to letting go, I added, clinking my cup against his. My phone kept buzzing with messages and calls, but for the first time, I felt no urge to answer. Let them deal with their own crisis. I had a moving truck to organize, a new project to plan, and a future that, for once, didn't revolve around being someone else's safety net. You know they'll blame you for this, Travis said softly. I touched Grandma's ring again, remembering her words about standing your ground. Let them, I replied. Some people never learn to swim until you stop being their lifeboat. The numbers don't lie, Robert said, sliding the financial report across his polished desk. Your initial investment has tripled in just 2 months. I stared at the figures, barely believing my eyes. The small conference room at Robert Young and Associates felt worlds away from my old life, even though it had only been 3 weeks since I'd moved out. And the urban development project? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The board approved your proposal this morning. Full funding, complete creative control. He leaned back, smiling. You've got good instincts, Sonia. Better than most veterans I know. My phone buzzed, Kennedy's face lighting up the screen. I declined the call, just like I had the previous 20 times this week. Family troubles? Robert asked, noticing my expression. Nothing I can't handle. I straightened my blazer, a small luxury I'd allowed myself after my first successful investment. What's our next move? Actually, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Robert pressed his intercom. Send in Sawyer, please. A tall man in a charcoal suit entered, his presence immediately filling the room. Sorry, I'm late. Traffic was... He stopped, his eyes landing on me. You're Sonia? Disappointed? I asked, standing to shake his hand. He grinned. Impressed. Your proposal on sustainable urban housing is the most innovative thing I've seen in years. Sawyer's our biggest private investor, Robert explained. He's interested in expanding your project to multiple cities. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Mom this time. I declined it automatically. Should we reschedule? Sawyer asked, nodding at my phone. No, I said firmly. This is more important. We spent the next hour discussing expansion plans, my confidence growing with each point I made. Sawyer's eyes lit up when I explained my vision for affordable, sustainable housing communities. This could revolutionize urban living, he said, scribbling notes. We could. My phone interrupted again, this time with a text from Travis. Turn on Entertainment Weekly, now. Excuse me, I said, pulling up the website on my tablet. The headline made my stomach drop. Midnight in Manhattan. Halts production, supporting actress Kennedy Pierce's controversial social media meltdown. Below was a video of Kennedy, clearly distressed, ranting about being misled about her role and demanding script changes. The comments were brutal. Everything okay? Sawyer asked, noticing my expression. Family drama, I said, closing the tab. It won't affect our project. Actually, Robert interjected, this might be relevant. Sawyer, show her. Sawyer pulled out his phone, opening a real estate listing. Your sister's public meltdown just tanked the production company's stock. They're selling their downtown property portfolio to cover losses. I looked at the listing. A block of historic buildings, perfect for renovation into sustainable housing. The very buildings you identified in your proposal, Robert added. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Kennedy. Sonia, please. Everything's falling apart. Mom's not helping. She keeps pushing me to fight the studio. But they're threatening to sue. I need you. Take it, Sawyer said quietly. Family matters. I deleted the voicemail without listening to the end. No, this matters. Those buildings? Let's make an offer. Robert raised an eyebrow. You're sure? Absolutely. I pulled out my portfolio numbers. I can leverage my investments as partial backing. With Sawyer's support. Done, Sawyer interrupted. I'm in. 2 hours later, I walked out of Robert's office with a preliminary agreement and a head full of possibilities. Travis was waiting at our usual coffee shop. Have you seen? He started. Yes? I sat down, ordering my usual. And no, I'm not getting involved. She's your sister. She's a grown woman who signed a contract without reading it, then threw a public tantrum when it didn't go her way. I showed him the property agreement. I'm focused on this now. Travis whistled at the numbers. This is big, Sonia, really big. I know. I smiled, touching Grandma's ring. Want to know the best part? Those buildings Kennedy's failed movie was supposed to use? They're going to become affordable housing instead of another Hollywood vanity project. That's either poetic justice or petty revenge. Why not both? My phone buzzed with another text from Kennedy. Mom's talking about mortgaging the house to hire a lawyer. Please call me. I turned off my phone. You can't ignore them forever, Travis said gently. I'm not ignoring them. I'm letting them face consequences. I pulled out the project plans. Besides, I'm about to be very, very busy. Building an empire? No. I thought about all the families who would benefit from affordable, sustainable housing. Building something that actually matters. As I left the coffee shop, I caught my reflection in the window. Confident, professional, strong. Mom and Kennedy wouldn't recognize this version of me. Maybe that was the point. The headline on TMZ made me pause mid-sip of my morning coffee. Kennedy Pierce dropped from Midnight in Manhattan, Studio files lawsuit. Quite the family drama you've got there, Sawyer said, sliding into the seat across from me at the upscale restaurant where we were meeting to discuss the property acquisition. Former family drama, I corrected, putting my phone away. How's the paperwork coming along? Actually, that's why I wanted to meet in person. He pulled out a folder. The studio's legal troubles have made them desperate to sell. They've dropped their asking price by 30%. My eyes widened at the new number. That's a steal, he finished. But we need to move fast. Other developers are circling. The waiter arrived with our appetizers, and I used the interruption to check my messages. 5 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Kennedy, and 1 text from Travis. They're at my apartment looking for you. Everything okay? Sawyer asked, noticing my frown. Just family trying to drag me back into their mess. I put my phone on silent. The property is more important. About that. Sawyer leaned forward. Robert mentioned you've been hesitant to tap into your full investment potential. Something about keeping a low profile? I thought about Mom's desperate calls, Kennedy's public meltdown, and the quiet satisfaction of watching it all from a safe distance. Not anymore, I said. How quickly can we close the deal? With your portfolio's current value and my backing, we could sign by end of week. My phone lit up with a new message, a video link from Travis. Against my better judgment, I clicked it. Kennedy was on some local morning show, tears streaming down her face. I just want to apologize to everyone I've disappointed. My sister always tried to warn me about reading contracts carefully, but I was too caught up in the dream. I muted the video, but not before catching Mom in the background, playing the supportive parent role perfectly. Interesting PR strategy, Sawyer commented, having watched over my shoulder. Using family drama for damage control. They're not getting what they want this time. I closed the video. Let's talk numbers. We spent the next hour finalizing details, my confidence growing with each decision. As we wrapped up, Sawyer's assistant rushed over with a tablet. Sir, you need to see this. The studio stock just dropped another 15% after Ms. Pierce's interview. I looked at the numbers, then at Sawyer. If we make an offer right now, we could get the entire block for less than half its value, he finished, already pulling out his phone. Do it. 3 hours later, I stood in front of the historic buildings that would soon be mine. Well, partly mine. The irony wasn't lost on me. Kennedy's public breakdown had paved the way for my biggest success. Sonia? I turned to find Kennedy standing there, still in her TV makeup, looking smaller somehow. How did you find me? Travis told me you might be here. She wrapped her arms around herself. Mom mortgaged the house. That was stupid. I know, the lawyers say I don't have a case anyway. She looked up at the buildings. What are you doing here? Buying them, I said simply. Her eyes widened. These buildings, but they're worth millions. Yes, they are. Or they were, before your meltdown tanked the studio's stock. So you're profiting from my failure? I'm succeeding despite your drama. There's a difference. She wiped away a tear. Mom was wrong about you, about everything. Yes, she was. I don't know what to do now, Sonia. Everything's falling apart. For a moment, I felt the old urge to fix things, to step in and save her. Then I remembered all the times I'd done that before, and where it had got us. Figure it out, I said, not unkindly. That's what adults do. My phone buzzed. Sawyer. The studio accepted our offer. We're closing tomorrow. I have to go, I told Kennedy. I have a contract to sign. Sonia, she called as I turned away. I really am sorry. For everything. I paused, thinking of all the years I'd spent in her shadow, all the sacrifices that had led to this moment. I know, I said. But sometimes sorry isn't enough. As I walked away, my phone lit up with a message from Robert. Congratulations on your first major acquisition. Ready to change the world? I looked back at the buildings, then at Kennedy's retreating figure, and finally at Grandma's ring, catching the sunlight. More than ready, I typed back. This is just the beginning. The ribbon-cutting ceremony is tomorrow at 10, my assistant reminded me, hurrying to keep pace as we walked through the nearly completed building. Local news wants an interview about the Affordable Housing Initiative. Schedule it for after the ceremony, I replied, stopping to inspect the solar panels being installed. And make sure… Sonia! A familiar voice echoed through the construction site. Mom stood near the entrance, clutching her purse like a shield. How did you get past security? I asked, motioning for my assistant to give us privacy. I told them I was your mother. She stepped closer, taking in my tailored suit and confident stance. You look… different. It's been 6 months, Mom. Things change. The house is in foreclosure, she said abruptly. The lawyers ate through everything we had. Kennedy's working as a waitress now. I waited for the guilt to hit, but it didn't come. What do you want? I saw the news about your success. This project, the others you're planning. She gestured at the building around us. You've done so well. No thanks to you. I know. She looked down at her hands. I was wrong. About everything. I pushed Kennedy too hard, ignored your potential. Stop. I held up my hand. If you're here for money… I'm here to apologize. The words burst out of her. I'm here because I drove one daughter to a public breakdown and another to cut all ties with her family, because I'm finally realizing what a horrible mother I've been. Before I could respond, Sawyer's voice called out, Sonia, the investors are here early. I have to go, I told Mom. I have a meeting. Please, she grabbed my arm. Just, can we have dinner? You, me, and Kennedy? Talk things through? I gently removed her hand. I'll think about it. The investor meeting ran long, but it was worth it. Our sustainable housing model was being adopted in 3 more cities. As I presented the projections, I caught Sawyer smiling proudly. Afterward, he caught up with me in the elevator. That was impressive, though you seemed distracted. My mother showed up earlier. Ah. He pressed the lobby button. And? And nothing. She wants dinner, probably money. You know, he said carefully, success means different things to different people. For some, it's proving others wrong. For others, it's proving themselves right. And what's it for you? Finding balance. The elevator doors opened. Speaking of which, dinner tonight? I smiled. Rain check? I need to handle something first. An hour later, I sat across from Travis at our old coffee spot. So she finally apologized, he said after I recounted the conversation. Too little? Too late? That's your call. He stirred his coffee. But you've already won, Sonia. Your success is undeniable. Maybe now you can afford to be generous, not with money, but with forgiveness. My phone buzzed with a text from Kennedy. Heard Mom found you. I'm sorry she ambushed you like that, but I'm proud of what you've built. You deserved better than what we gave you. When did you get so wise? I asked Travis. Around the same time you got so successful. He grinned. So what now? I pulled out my phone and typed a response to Kennedy. Dinner tomorrow, 7 p.m. Bring Mom, we'll talk. Just talk? Travis raised an eyebrow. Just talk. I showed him the latest project proposals. I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need anything from them. That's precisely why you can afford to listen now. Later that night, standing in my penthouse office overlooking the city, I touched Grandma's ring and thought about legacy. Mom had wanted to build one through Kennedy's fame. I was building mine through actual buildings, through communities, through change. My phone lit up with another message from Sawyer. Tomorrow's ceremony will change lives. You should be proud. I looked at the illuminated skyline, at the buildings that would soon provide homes for hundreds of families, at the empire I'd built from the ashes of my family's dysfunction. I am, I typed back. Another message came through from Kennedy. Thank you for giving us a chance. I'll make sure Mom behaves. I smiled, remembering the meek sister who used to need my protection. Maybe we'd all grown up a bit. Just dinner, I replied. No promises after that. But as I stood there, watching my first major project gleam in the sunset, I realized something. I didn't need their validation anymore, but maybe, just maybe, I was ready to see who they'd become without it too. The city lights twinkled, and somewhere in that sparkle, I saw tomorrow's possibility. Not of reconciliation necessarily, but of something new, something earned, something real. The restaurant was quiet, upscale, but not flashy. Neutral ground for what promised to be an interesting evening. I arrived first, deliberately choosing a corner table that offered both privacy and a clear path to the exit. Kennedy arrived next, wearing a waitress uniform under her coat. Sorry about this. She gestured at her clothes. Had to come straight from work. It suits you, I said and meant it. There was a new humility in her bearing that the designer clothes had never achieved. Mom appeared minutes later, looking smaller somehow, less commanding. She sat down without her usual dramatic flourish. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. The waiter brought menus, and for a moment, we all hid behind them, avoiding the inevitable conversation. I recommend the salmon, I offered, breaking the silence. The chef here is incredible. We can't, Kennedy started, then straightened her shoulders. I should be honest. We can't afford this place. I know. It's my treat. Huh, Sonia! Mom put down her menu. We don't deserve. This isn't about deserving, I interrupted. This is about choices. I'm choosing to have dinner with you. That's all this is. The waiter returned, and we ordered. As he walked away, Kennedy pulled something from her bag. I found this while packing up my old headshots. She slid a photograph across the table, me and her as kids, performing a play in the backyard. Remember this? Before the acting classes and agents, I said. When it was just fun. I miss that, she admitted. I miss a lot of things. I saw your building in the paper, Mom said suddenly. The affordable housing project. It's amazing, Sonia. You're amazing. Thank you. I took a sip of water. That means something, coming from you now. Because I failed so spectacularly with Kennedy? No, I met her eyes. Because you're finally seeing me. Not as Kennedy's supporter, not as the family ATM, but as me. Our food arrived, and for a while, we ate in contemplative silence. I have something to tell you both, Kennedy said finally. I've been taking business classes at the community college, night classes after my shifts. I raised an eyebrow. Really? You inspired me, actually. Watching you build something real while I was chasing spotlights, It made me think. And you? I turned to Mom. What are you doing now? She folded her napkin carefully. Selling the house, starting over. I've I've applied for a job at the local theater, teaching drama to kids. Teaching? I couldn't hide my surprise. It turns out I'm good at nurturing talent. I just focused on the wrong things before. I touched Grandma's ring, thinking about cycles and changes. The housing project opens tomorrow. Would you like to come? They both looked up, startled. To the ceremony? Kennedy asked. To see what's possible when you build something real. Mom's eyes filled with tears. We'd be honored. Just no dramatic scenes, I added, managing a small smile. I have investors to impress. Kennedy laughed, a real laugh, not her practiced stage giggle. No drama, promise. As we finished dinner, I pulled out 2 envelopes. What's this? Mom asked. Information about the tenant application process for the new building. If you're interested, the rent is income-based. They stared at the envelopes, understanding dawning on their faces. You'd let us, Kennedy started, apply, like anyone else. No guarantees, no special treatment. I stood up. But everyone deserves a chance to start over. Outside the restaurant, Mom reached for a hug, then stopped herself. May I? I nodded, letting her embrace me briefly. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. And so sorry. I know, I stepped back. See you both tomorrow? They nodded and walked away, clutching their envelopes like lifelines. My phone buzzed. Sawyer. Dinner with the family survive? Surprisingly, yes, I replied. Ready for tomorrow? I looked up at the city skyline, at the buildings that would soon be homes, at the legacy I'd built from the ruins of what was meant to break me. More than ready, I typed back. Another message came through, this time from Travis. How'd it go? Like watching a butterfly emerge from a chrysalis, I replied. Messy, difficult, but maybe necessary. I walked to my car, thinking about tomorrow's ceremony, about new beginnings and old wounds, about the difference between revenge and redemption. Maybe the best revenge wasn't getting even or getting ahead. Maybe it was getting wise. And finally being free to choose what came next.